Hey guys, it's Squall, and this is part 7 of Everlasting Summer. There were about a dozen pioneers at the square. Where did they all come from, I wonder? I approached Slavya. Hi there. Oh hi, you've come to help? Well, not of my own free will, of course. I've thought it over again. I see. Take this broom. Your area is right next to the monument. Frankly speaking, there was nothing to sweep there. It seemed pretty clean to me, though some rubbish was still laying around. After sweeping for a while, I came back to Slavya, who was sitting on a bench and taking a break. What a nice day, huh? Yeah, though it's a bit too hot. She shaded her eyes with her hand and looked up at the sky. You're like a tireless worker of communist labor. Aw, come on, I just like to help others. That's good. And what about you? What about me? Well, it seems to me that you find community service a bit of a burden. Well, probably. Why is that? I don't really know. Seriously, she can't expect me to just unload all my ideas concerning this point on her. You more or less expect the same thing from everyone else here. She might drown in them. Maybe you just don't like company. That's actually quite possible. There was some truth in Slavya's words. I suppose that she was good at reading other people's minds. Or at least, at reading mine. Though, how can that be possible if even I find it hard to understand myself at times? What are you going to do when this session is over? What do you mean? In USSR, a person finishing the high school typically had to choose between either getting a college degree, typically achieving a status of engineer or scientist, or going into secondary vocational school, thus mastering a profession. Well, are you going to enter college, or do you want to master a profession? I've already achieved grand mastery at all my professions, watching anime and surfing the internet. I don't think you can get paid for that, bro. I don't know yet. What about you? We have a small farm back home, so I want to help my parents there. Huh. It sounded pretty strange. Are there any private farms in the USSR where all the farming has to be collective? But I decided not to go into details. And what are your parents doing? My parents were not a good subject for discussion. And it's not that my parents are not good, quite the opposite. They are kind-hearted people. But it's not the right time for such a discussion. My father works at the local council, and my mother is a teacher. That wasn't actually true. More like a half-truth. Cool. She really seemed to consider that a cool thing. I guess so. The conversation had reached a dead end, so I was trying to take my eyes off Slavya and kept gazing under my feet, up in the sky, or just looking around. You know, I'm pretty sure you'll also be fine. Slavya looked at me thoughtfully. Now what was that for? And what was that also about? Thanks, I mumbled. But what do you mean? I suppose that you happen to be too pessimistic at times. Isn't that way too straightforward? Maybe. But you're gonna be alright. Maybe. After this conversation, I felt ill at ease. On the one hand, there was nothing special in her words. In general, almost any person in Slavya's shoes would come to a similar conclusion. Nevertheless, I felt, and not for the first time, like she could see right through me. So, let's get to cleaning. Uh-huh. She smiled and took the broom. I never thought that cleaning could bring such a deep pleasure. No, I wasn't upset because of this conversation. On the contrary, I was glad to hear that from her. For the first time ever, somebody was discussing my life without criticizing me, without giving any stupid advice based on their own personal experience, without intending to go through my head, and without making some far-reaching conclusions. I was just glad that somebody supported me. No, that's not quite right. Oh my gosh. I was just glad that Slavya supported me. Oh dear, loud bell again. Where you been, old friend? In a short while, the music played around the camp, calling us for lunch. I put away the broom with a sigh of relief and a sense of accomplishment and went to the canteen. Who is marching forward in a row? It is our pioneer squad. Pioneers in a row usually march to the canteen in the Sovyonok camp. I was looking for a place where no one would disturb me, like what happened before. Just so I can eat in peace. And for that I have to at least not be the last one to come. But I was pretty sure, whatever happens here happens whether I want it to or not. The canteen was crammed as full as an egg. As full as an egg? Olga Dmitrievna was standing at the entrance, guarding it like a hawk. Well, Semyon, were you working hard today? Or hardly working? No, okay. Hard enough. Well done, truly well done. And the hardest is yet to come. I just bet. Fine, take a seat next to the girls. She pointed at the table next to the pillar. You know why she puts you next to the girls? Because you're so damn emotional. Slavya, Uliana, and Lena were already sitting there. Not bad company. At least, not the worst. I got my meal and went up to them. Oh. Do you mind if I sit here? I caught myself sounding a bit clueless. There were no other free places anyway. No, of course not. Please do. Lena remained silent. Today the meal consisted of a plate of borscht. I suspected there was some meat lurking in it, but I had no evidence. Some poultry, chances are chickenus domesticus, with fried potatoes and a traditional glass of compote. Compote. I found myself liking the local food more and more. I guess I just came to the conclusion that I have no other choice, which means that there's no use in complaining. Thank God there's something to eat. Coming to the ball tonight? I don't know. He'll come. He got nowhere to go. Uliana said happily. You will come for sure? Of course. I can't miss the opportunity to watch you make a fool of yourself. She got it right, so I decided not to reply. And what about you? I asked Lena. Yes. I love it when that girl smiles, it's so adorable. She replied briefly. See, you should go too then, said Slavya as if leaving me no choice. Don't forget to wear your tailcoat. Apparently Uliana was so pleased with her joke that she laughed out loud. But I really had nothing to wear. My wardrobe was just a pioneer uniform and my winter clothes, which would be inappropriate even in the evening. And what will you be dressed in, entertainer? Secret. Will it be a little dress just like in a kindergarten's matinee? Uliana turned red. Looks like I managed to offend her. No, I will wear a biohazard suit, just so I don't catch an infection from you. If anyone's infected, it's clearly you. I wonder what kind of infection are you afraid of catching from me? Enough, you guys. Don't quarrel. Idiocy, of course. Looks like Uliana was highly pleased with her, as she thought. Brilliant answer again. Huh. You know, in this pose, she kind of looks like a streamer from Twitch. I think her name's Natasha. You know, if you already have the flu, you can't catch a cold. Two can play that game. What are you implying? Every time she makes that face, I just imagine her saying something like, "What's up, essay?" Oh, nothing. Nothing at all. I look away slyly. Do you mean that? She went red again. I don't mean anything. Guys, given that it was Lena who interfered, it probably really was time to stop. You're asking for it. You're gonna get it. Oh, what are you gonna do? Bite my ankles? What? You'll finally wise up? What did you... Instead of replying, Uliana grabbed her plate filled with borscht and tipped it over my head. The most shocking thing about this is that she managed to reach over my head. This game met an unexpected finale. Oh, you little... She jumped and tried to run away. Tried? Oh... But this time she won't get away. I grabbed her hand. And now what? I can't just smash her head against the table. Yeah, I suppose not. This pantomime lasted a few seconds. Suddenly, Uliana skillfully grabbed a glass full of compote and splashed it in my face. That way she managed to get free of my grip. She dashed off towards the counter and I chased her. This resulted in several flipped tables, a pile of smashed tableware, 5 pioneers crippled by various injuries and full exhaustion of both parties, and an earthquake. Apparently. A jaw, sort of. No, you hella lost, kid. A belligerent jaw. With too much belligerence. We stood before each other and breathed heavily. Tell me you won't behave this way again. And you? Olga Dmitrievna snuck up on she was behind them. When you think about it, such a riot couldn't go unnoticed. Well, are you satisfied with yourselves now? Her voice appeared to be calm, but I was sure she was just about to explode. And who's gonna clean up all this mess? You got 2 hands, homegirl? Exactly what happened. Who? I'm asking you, who? Him, replied Uliana with complete confidence. Her, I objected less confidently. Both. The camp leader brought a conclusive end to this ongoing argument. Generally, I wasn't sure that my share of the blame is more than hers, although Uliana didn't have a drop of guilt on her face. Beat it. I'm not cleaning. Ain't nobody got time for... No, I'm not gonna say it that way. Ain't nobody got time for that. This is his fault. He started it first. No, it isn't. Oh, yes, it is. I'm not going to sort out all that nonsense. Semyon, go grab a mop, a bucket, some cloths, you know, that kind of stuff in the closet. And as for you, she looked at Uliana with such a burning gaze that I felt a bit sorry for the girl. You start to pick up the broken tableware immediately. She could hurt herself. She's only a kid. Olga Dmitrievna took a deep breath and continued. You're nothing but trouble. How many times have I told you? I decided to skip the lecture and went to the closet that appeared to be near the exit. Suddenly a perfect idea flashed in my head. Why don't I just run away? Sure, Olga Dmitrievna has caught us already, but I'm not the one to blame. Of course, I'm not that true pioneer she keeps talking about, but in comparison to Uliana, anyway, she's the principal culprit. It's not like I have nothing better to do than cleaning up the mess here. I have to seek answers. The truth is out there, somehow flashed through my mind. The solution came out of thin air. While Olga Dmitrievna was scolding Uliana, I snuck to the exit. Thank goodness it was nearby. Slipping outside, I hesitated for a few moments and I ran into electronic. Looks like he was working till late at the club. Where's the fire? Fire? My shuttle is leaving in 10 minutes. What? Hey, wait! Electronic's words hung in the air behind me. I ran off towards the square. It's definitely not the best place to hide. Indeed, in a state of stress or fatigue, I frequently start talking to myself. Hadn't noticed. Well, not really talking, but rather mumbling under my breath. It helps me to concentrate and find the right solution quickly. Okay, where to next? Where should I go? The best place would be the one with the least amount of people. Consequently, my way lies in the woods. Half a minute later, I was already relaxing, sitting on a stump near the forest trail. This is actually quite lovely. That was one hell of a getaway. I hope that will teach Uliana to behave. Indeed, she's not a child anymore. Well, sad, but true. Not a child anymore. Now a thought crossed my mind. I might have sort of mishandled the whole situation. A fair share of that Brock and... there's a space between the BROK and the EN. A fair share of that broken tableware is because of me. Moreover, one might mention that I didn't have to engage in that mess at the beginning. It got me thinking. How's the weather? Slavya stood right before me. How does she manage to sneak up unnoticed? Thank goodness it's not Olga Dmitrievna. Fine. Those were the only words I managed to squeeze out of myself. I thought I'd find you here. Why? I'm not sure, it's just... She looked up at the sky. There are fewer people around here. Does Slavya really think I have some sort of social phobia? There are no words to express how much... I'm just gonna let it go. On second thoughts, she actually has a good reason to think so. Yeah, when you first met her, didn't you get startled and wanna run off and talk about how you wanted to go into space and wave goodbye to the galaxies? But nah, you don't have a social phobia or anything, right? And what are you doing here? Looking for you. She smiled again, but this time her smile looked a bit different. A little friendlier, I guess. Me? Why? Can't you guess? I braced and prepared for a harsh lecture. I understand that you're guilty to a lesser degree than Uliana. Now the camp leader's assistant is defending me. I felt even more pathetic. Damn, get serious. We're not playing bad cop, good cop here. But if I grant that you aren't gonna help her, you can at least help me. Saying that, Slavya looked up at the sky yet again. I wonder what she's looking for up there. And what do I need to do? We have to reorganize the books in the library. It's way better than disciplinary enslavement together with Uliana. And anyway, it was an offer I couldn't refuse. I'm all at your service, mademoiselle, or madam. She laughed. Then follow me, monsieur. Oh, it must be some sort of French word, I guess. In a couple of minutes, we were in the library. All the way, I kept looking around in fear of meeting Olga Dmitrievna. It looks like Slavya didn't notice my anxiety. And still, it's quite odd that she hasn't scolded me. Well, if we're going to continue our analogy, Slavya's definitely the good cop. When we went inside, gleaming sunlight streamed through the windows of the library with a myriad of dust particles dancing in the beams. Homeboy's a poet now. This is special library dust with that distinctive smell that you can never confuse with anything else. These microscopic pieces of the moribund collected works of Marxism-Leninism classics. That's interesting. Does the dust near the fiction shelf smell similar to the dust near the books on physics and chemistry? Well, they're made out of the same thing. And by the way, why hasn't anyone come up with an air freshener that smells like a library? I think a lot of introverts like myself would appreciate it. You start with those rows. Slavya pointed at the bookshelf near Lenin's sculpted head. Okay, but what exactly do I have to do? Just remove the books from the shelves and put them on the floor. We'll dust them and then we'll put them back. By looking at all this dust, reading is hardly the pioneer's favorite activity. Any idea where Xenia might be? Don't know. She probably went somewhere. Strange. It appears that there are just two places in the world where one can meet Xenia, the library and the canteen. I got into gear. I guess I've never handled so many books at one time at my entire life. Huh. Anyway, I'm much more used to reading from a computer screen or a tablet. Firstly, there is no need to pay for electronic books, and secondly, you cannot find everything in printed form. Yeah, but I still prefer having books over e-books. How's it going? Asked Slavya, standing behind the bookshelves. It's okay. It's going little by little. Have you read anything about that? About what? Well, about communism. Nah, I'm kinda more into historical books. And adventures. Me too. Well, historical literature wasn't exactly my favorite, but the class struggle under socialism was definitely no match for that. Is it the translation? Is that why it's written weird sometimes? Because I've noticed a lot of grammar mistakes lately. Like here, the class struggle under socialism was no match for it. Yeah, I guess. Hey, don't hold a grudge against Uliana. Wrong voice. Hey, don't hold a grudge against Uliana. I don't. Indeed, I felt that my had ego mostly recovered from the incident at the canteen. Grammar again. Besides, I managed to cleanse myself of the lunch leftovers in a forest lake. It's not like she's doing all that out of spite. Despite or not, one should think through one's own actions. Now, whatever. I kept moving around dozens of books written by people totally unknown to me. I'm gonna forget who they are in a minute, and I'll never get to know what they are writing about. You could read. That is a doom of many writers, to become a forsaken set of letters in a hardcover on a bookshelf in the library of a non-existent pioneer camp's reality. Yeah, well. Have you finished? Yeah, I think so. Me too. Okay, let's do it this way. I'll write them down and you put them back on the shelves. But I don't remember what order they were placed in before. It's okay, nobody reads them anyway. It looks like she has a smile for every occasion. A couple of times I've noticed slight differences, shades of emotion in that smile, joy, happiness, sadness. But these shades were so evanescent, I wasn't really sure that I'm not imagining things. This time her smile looked a little flirty. Yeah, probably. At least I wouldn't be reading this stuff. Slavya was wiping the covers with a damp cloth, and I was putting the books back on the shelf. We were a good team. Our job was almost done. Why didn't you take anything from the upper shelves? Upper shelves? I looked up. Sorry, I hadn't noticed them. It's alright. Wait a moment. I'll bring the chair. Even with my rather considerable stature, I wouldn't be able to get them. I stood on the chair and proceeded to remove the books from the shelves and pass them to Slavya. After a while, there were only about a dozen books left at the farthest end of the shelf. It looked to me like it wouldn't be too hard to reach that far. I always been the type to take a larger bite rather than biting twice. And taking that bite without moving the chair under me became a fatal error. Dun dun dun. Opening my eyes, I found myself on top of Slavya. Are you alive? I got the fright of my life. Yeah, I never know if it comes across in movies or TV shows, but someone falling on you, that hurts. That hurts. I'm fine. Her face was only an inch away from mine. Anything broken? I don't think so. You'd make a rather bad stuntman. She laughed. You bet. I looked into her eyes. Just looked. I wasn't sure what I should say. And Slavya either hesitated too, or just let me take the lead. At this rate, something might happen. Her lips were so close to mine. I had the urge to stand up, but was unable to do so. Slavya was just lying in silence and looking me straight in the eyes. All of a sudden, I noticed the bell ringing on the edge of my hearing. It's dinner time. Yeah. Shall we go? Let's go. I didn't move an inch. Well, if we're going to go, you need to get up first. Obviously, it felt like some invisible force was holding me in place. Slavya seemed to recognize that and carefully slipped out from under me. Are you going to stay there? She laughed. At that point, I finally came to my senses and stood up. I'm sorry. That's okay. But we haven't finished it all. We'll have to clean up the rest later. Yeah, sure. I stayed silent all the way to the canteen. Slavya rambled on about her life in the camp, but given that it was indeed a monologue, I wasn't paying much attention. Oh. Coming to the canteen. You know she's pissed because this music is new. Coming to the canteen, I saw Olga Dmitrievna on the porch. Don't you have some explaining to do, young man? Now I remember what it was that I'd forgotten. Nope. How's your cleaning duty? Good enough. That's not what Uliana told me. That was all her fault. And what did I tell you? I ordered you to clean it up together. And what were you doing? I didn't know what to say, as deep down I knew that she was right. Don't blame him. Semyon was helping me at the library. Oh really? Yeah. Well, that's all great and stuff, but to cut a long story short, you won't get dinner tonight. How is that? Why? I protested. However, my protest looked more like a demand for a refill at the prison mess hall, bold and daring, but still stupid and counterproductive. Hopefully that will teach you a lesson. At that instant, Olga Dmitrievna looked more like an ancient Roman legionnaire commander than a tiny pioneer camp leader. I had no idea how to oppose her. Forgive him and hold me responsible. The camp leader took her time to think it over. Alright, if you say so. Thanks. Homeboy, you're just gonna let her take the fall for you? We hurried inside. Well, I'm gonna join the girls. We had a prior arrangement. Take care. She smiled and waved her goodbyes. Seriously, where would I be without her? Still outside the gates. Yeah, freaking out, rolling on the grass. That's where you'd be. There were no free places near Slavya, and besides, I hadn't been introduced to her friends. It seems that I'll have to share a dinner table with Electronic and Shurik. Oh great. And so we won't have to deal with those two morons in this episode. I'm gonna leave it right here, and we'll pick it up again in part 8. Yeah. Until next time, thank you.
I pressed the button.